First time I actually ever heard music, realised music existed, was there's a track called The Laughing Policeman. And I was...
I've got that on my iPod.
Have you?
Yeah,
and,
especially for you.
Well, I grew up in a little village and there was a village shop, and I can remember going in to buy my sweets after school and hearing this laughing. Like music, you know, it's very rare to know when you first realise that music actually exists.
Yeah.
Out of speakers, you know, it just doesn't live in the air.
For my podcast, I chose Geoff Barrow. Geoff Barrow was born on December 9th, 1971 in a town called Walton in Gordano, located in North Somerset, England. After his parents divorced, him and his mother moved to a town called Portishead. He was 11 at the time. Geoff started off his career as a drummer for local bands and DJ'd in some hip-hop groups until he landed a tape operator position at Coach House Studios in 1989. 2 years later, while he was working on the album Blue Lines by Massive Attack, the band Renting the Time allocated some to him so that he could lay down some ideas of his own on tape. A couple of years after the group Portishead was formed, they came to Coach House Studios and recorded their single, Sour Times, which debuted on their hit album, Dummy. In the early 90s, Geoff Barrow started to see some recognition as a remixer working with artists like Primal Scream, Paul Weller, Gabriel, and Depeche Mode. Mr. Barrow also produced a track for the artist Tricky, who later on down the road collaborated with Portishead to make some really legendary tracks. In 2001, he formed a record label called Invada Records, located in Australia. In 2003, he formed Invada UK, which was a more experimental label whom he partnered with Fat Paul to make. Together they signed bands like Ganja, Team Brick, Atavist, Malachi, and quite a few more. During all of this time, Geoff still maintained notoriety as a remixer for groups like Gravediggers, The Pharicide, and others. Personally, I think that Geoff has a keen sense of knowing when and how dissonance can be used to make his tracks sound mysteriously edgy and full. Honestly, it's difficult to sit down, listen to his work, and say to yourself, that wasn't done in a tasteful manner. Mr. Barrow has actually produced works that I'm not only familiar with, but I'm a large fan of. I had no idea that Geoff Barrow was the producer of Portishead until researching it. I have been listening to Portishead for many years of my life, and they were an early influence on my musical character. I look up to Geoff Barrow and hold a lot of respect for not only him, but what he has accomplished throughout the course of his life.